Welcome back. This is segment number 44 of Making Sense for 7 Minutes, a summer-long series, Monday through Friday, where we are surveying in bite-sized pieces our historical narrative as given to us in the Bible, and asking always the immeasurably relevant question, so what? Two major points for these 7 minutes. The first having to do with vocabulary. In the New Testament, you hear about people who were disciples and people who were apostles. The word disciple and the word discipline are closely related because a disciple is someone who is a disciplined follower of someone else. During the 3 years of Jesus' public ministry, he had up to 70 disciples. Now, you see, there's a fun fact to know and tell at the next cocktail party when the conversation lags. Oh, yes, well, did you know that at one point in Jesus' public ministry, he had as many as 70 disciples? Yes, it's true. An apostle, however, by definition, is someone who was sent, someone who was specially commissioned, and in the case of Jesus, his apostles, commissioned by him. And out of all of the disciples that Jesus had, he selected 12 to be apostles. So, here's a fun fact to know and tell at the next cocktail party when the conversation lags. Did you know that apostles were disciples, but the disciples weren't necessarily apostles? Yes, it's true. Now, there's a point that I need to make that some of you are not going to like. But what are you going to do? Fire me? Church leaders who carry the title of apostle should not, because they are not. No one has been personally commissioned by Jesus since the apostle Paul. Yeah, well, you say, what difference does it make what they're called? Besides accuracy, here's where the potential for problems becomes serious. One of the criteria for discerning if a writing was to be considered scripture by the early church was, did it carry apostolic authority? That which is genuinely put forth under apostolic authority is then, in fact, absolute authority. You do not want someone in your church or in your life claiming to have apostolic, unquestionable authority. Which means that there is another fun fact to know and tell at the next cocktail party when the conversation lags. Yes. Did you know that there is both a quantitative and a qualitative difference between those who are disciples of Jesus and those who were apostles? Yes, it's true. The second major point is you can tell a lot about a person by the people that he spends time with. And that is no more true than when you watch Jesus. Now, very few of the people that he hung out with were religious people. In fact, the dynamics got really interesting because one of the complaints that the religious people had about Jesus was the people that he was hanging out with. Tax collectors and sinners, not to mention some formerly demon-possessed. And Jesus had a rule of thumb. It's not those who are well or who think they are well who need or will take advantage of the services of a doctor. It's those who are sick and willing to admit it. And then he gets down to brass tacks to make sure that everybody understands that he's talking about spiritual health. I didn't come to call the righteous, he said, but sinners. And did he ever? Here's a fun fact no one tell at the next cocktail party when the conversation lags. Oh, yes. Do you realize that among the 12 of Jesus' apostles, although a couple of them were really nice guys, you had a bigot, you had a traitor, you had a terrorist, there were a couple of fishermen who were brothers, and they were angry and they were violent. In fact, Jesus himself called them sons of thunder. And they were self-centered. Then there was a skeptic, and then there was this impetuous fisherman who just shot off at the mouth and had these knee-jerk reactions all the time. And then to top it all off, Jesus commissions as an apostle a murderer. Yes, it's true. I think that if you're going to get any details about that, you're going to have to check out segment number 45 of this Making Sense for 7 Minutes on Facebook. I hear it's up for an Emmy. He always finishes by going, "Thanks, y'all."